Everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business. Looking forward to talking with Ben Mohr. Ben, it's great to see you. CEO of LAS, Life Advisor Solutions. Looking forward to talking with you because as we quickly talked before we went on air, your business allows other people to invest in people's life insurance. So I think it's a topic that a lot of people don't know about, wouldn't even know where to learn about it, but you can come to Think Business and learn all about it.
Right.
So what, like, how does this work, right? Talk about the ABCs for a second.
Sure. First off is it's something that's been around for a very, very long time, but rarely discussed because up until about 20 years ago, it was only for the ultra wealthy, right? Matter of fact, Warren Buffett owns over $1 billion of life insurance policies on other people, and people go, who knew? A lot of financial institutions do it as well. So if you think of the concept, it's kind of one of those things you look at and go, wow, why didn't I think of that? That imagine somebody who's like 80 years old, they've got $1 million life insurance policy. Now, as far as insurance, it'd be a permanent policy. Some people do buy term policies, but that doesn't make a lot of sense because they can term out, right? So if somebody has a permanent life insurance policy, let's say it's $1 million, they're probably paying $30,000 a year by the time they're 80 just to keep this thing going. Well, you got to ask yourself, why would an 80-year-old want to keep $1 million policy? Because if you go back maybe when they bought it 30 years ago, it was to protect their family. That's what people buy insurance for. Well, now they're 80, they need some kind of long-term care. They need, there's end of life costs. They don't want to sell their house. They don't want to delete their bank accounts. So what they're going to do is they're going to sell a policy to, say, someone like us for, maybe 20, 30, 40 cents on the dollar. So let's say we give grandma who's 80 years old, $300K. She's now able to use that money for end of life care, be comfortable. And then what we do is we bundle it in a portfolio with other policies we've bought, and then offer people to come in and to participate in investing in that portfolio. So for instance, right now, we have a portfolio which is 5 different policies of people who are usually over the age of 75, have some kind of obviously illnesses or they're not in exactly healthy shape. And you can come and invest, and the return on that is roughly 77%. So if someone gave us $100,000, what are they getting? They're owning small bits and portions of 5 different policies, and they have the death benefit of $177,000 total on those 5 policies. And every time somebody passes, or as John, we like to say in our business, the policies mature, just sounds better, you get a payout. So there's 5 different payouts, and those will total $177,000. That's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. It makes sense once I explain it to people, right? Yeah. Because it's not the I'm not against the market. It's just that if people want to put money and be more diversified away from the typical stuff like the market, this is a place where, when you put it in, people are going to pass ultimately, and you're going to get paid from some of the strongest companies in the world. The Transamericas, the New York Lifes. These are companies that do not have financial problems. Insurance carriers are some of the strongest companies in the world. So the fact that you're going to get paid out is pretty likely.
Yeah. All right. So that kind of summed that up. That was kind of like a mini master's class on how that works. And so I appreciate that. Let's talk about you and your business and how you grow and market your business, right? So the messaging of that you articulated, very nicely, and it was very digestible. And so, but you started off by talking about that many people don't know this. And so as somebody in business, how do you message that so people can remember it, see it, receive it, process it, remember it, and then build the mind share so you then can kind of build your business?
Well, it's, as anybody in business will say, if you have one approach to marketing, I think you're dead. I think you got to look at it like a table. You've got to have several different legs. So some of the basic legs would be, there's business to business and business to consumer. So business to business for us is we go out and we deal with different types of financial advisors, right? So a lot of the people that we work with are usually actually in the insurance field. A lot of people out there will deal in retirement planning, which will mean something like an annuity. If people aren't familiar at home, an annuity is kind of like a self-made pension plan. You give money to an insurance carrier, and then down the line, they're going to pay you X amount of dollars every month for the rest of your life. We will work with a lot of those types of people because they are dealing with people who want to place their money outside the market anyway. So one thing is we are very aggressively getting out there and marketing, be it through either LinkedIn, could be social media, could be what we call lunch and learns, going out there and just hitting the streets and letting people know who are in the financial institutions, hey, come check us out. And people are always looking away to, think of it, if you're a financial advisor, you don't want to put all your money with the market because you want to have a portion of the money that you're helping people grow outside the market, and that's where we go. When it's business to clients, a lot of social media marketing, a lot of paid ads, YouTube, Meta, which is, people aren't familiar, that's Facebook. Doing a lot of that stuff, doing a lot of webinars. It's a whole, I'm going to tell you this, John, and I know you already know this, but your people at home may not know this, or who knows, is that after COVID, it was a game changer, right? We had to all rethink business. Before then, it was clockwork. We just did a lot of dinner seminars when we went from business to consumer. It was send out invites, everybody gets them. Hey, you're getting ready to retire. We buy the chicken dinner. We get our 15, 20 minutes up there to do our song and dance. And then people go, ooh, this is interesting. We still do a little bit of that, but social media, Zoom, all this kind of stuff has changed the game to where you've got to have it all. And it's taxing, I'll tell you that, but it is the world. People want to learn while they're sitting on their couch watching The Bachelor or watching the basketball game. They want information now, and they want to have it in their own comfort or their own home or while they're walking the dog. So that's really been the thing we have to do these days.
Yeah. Talk to me as far as, go back in time as a business owner. The world has changed, but some fundamentals don't change. Mm-hmm. So go back and as far as you want to go back, a mentor that taught you certain fundamentals that you fundamentally still do today.
Well, a long time ago, I used to be in the annuity space a long time ago and was struggling. This is probably, about 15, 20 years ago. Dinner seminars definitely were the way to go. And what I learned from that group there is just understanding, I'm a big believer, it drives me nuts, of just trying to give, is educating, right? There's too many people selling. You can just tell when they're selling. And I hate to be sold, I can be the easiest customer. I can be your worst customer because I'm like, can you just get to the point? Like, what's the brass tacks here? So we like to be fully transparent. Our websites have link trees on them where we literally are showing you everything in the kitchen sink, right? Because I don't need to have 3 or 4 phone calls with somebody and then somebody read the contract and say, well, I didn't know on page 27, line 3, this, I'd rather have them all up front. And then all I'm doing makes my job so much easier is we're having a discussion like you and I are having. I'm not trying to hype things. I'm not trying to tell you the greatest part. All I'm doing is just explaining and educating. What I always tell people when I talk to them, I go, if every person ever bought this from us, I would have retired 10 years ago. It's not for everybody, and that's okay. I think people in business have to realize that you've got to give people the information and let them come to their own conclusion. And if it's not for them, it's not for them. Right.
It's so interesting. I mean, I agree 100%. And then there's there's education. And I want to touch you because I think you have such an interesting model of what you're selling, which takes people kind of a moment to understand and then process. And I agree with your philosophy. I follow kind of the same philosophy. Where do you layer in the ask? Where is the ask? Because I also believe that we need to educate, we need to share, we need to let people come to their own conclusion. I agree with everything that you just shared. But there also is that subtle and or more direct ask. And so where do you layer in the ask? Because I think that's where a lot of people who are in sales specifically have a hard time with finding where to ask.
Right. Well, for me, I think that what you have to do is it's almost like, uh, how would I say, it's almost like, say, if you were a prosecutor in a case or something of that nature, where you got to walk the people down the road
Yeah.
to the logical conclusion. You don't just all of a sudden say, well, okay, do you want to buy? So the easiest thing for us is, most people don't put more than 10% of their overall net worth with us. The reason being, as far as I think responsibility wise, is once you buy somebody's part of a life insurance policy, you can't come to us and say, hey, I'm going to Vegas for the weekend. I need to break off $5,000. You can't do that, right? So we let people know that up front. But because it's only 10%, now it makes my job easier, because what I say is, hey, John, let's just think about the worst 10% of your money right now. Where is that? Where is that? Then they show me, right? So now we already know what we're talking about. Now what I do is walk them down why our plan is, why that would help with that 10%, because look how bad it is now. You haven't made any other choices. So we think that this is what you should do. And based on your situation, we think that this $50,000 out of your $1 million is where it'd be. It's only 5% of your assets, and this is what you should do. So it's not really an ask. It's more like, I've walked down the exact money that we're talking about. This is exactly why you should do it. And it's already in a place where it's not doing anything. And if you had other solutions, you would have done it a long time ago. And we're kind of, this is, kismet. It's like we've met at the perfect time. You met the right place for the money. And this is why you should do it, because all your other money is in the market. This is why you do it. So rather than a just ask, I'm more just detailed it out to that point and then stop talking, right? I kind of got that line from Glenn Ross, which may not be a great thing, but it's so much when people are presenting and talking and trying to sell, they think they're just going to keep talking people until point is, you know what? I think at that point, you just stop talking, and then they're going to have to say no or ask questions. And that's where kind of my ask is. It's a subtle ask.
Yeah. And you know what I think also is, to your point, and I subscribe to this, which is going back to what you were initially talking about, the person asking the questions controls the conversation. And the questions, a lot of times, especially in sales, the big questions turn people off. The simple questions bring people in, right? Tell me what you have any questions on. Tell me one thing that, ... What can I share with you that you want to, learn a little bit, have a little bit more clarity on? I think sometimes as salespeople, we forget the simple questions, and we think we have to come in as this grand, like, let me tell you how to make $4 million buying someone. It's like, that's not how people buy today. And so asking questions and keeping them simple, I think are really, really important.
Yeah, I agree. It's that's the key. Is I see so many people these days where it's like if I can show you that I'm the smartest guy in the room and do all these things, and they don't realize, I don't think they put themselves in the person that you're talking to's seat, right? I'm not a car guy, right? So when I buy a car, it's pretty simple. I don't really need the sales guy then to pop the hood and show me. I don't know what any of these things are, right? All I want to know is, what's the warranty, right? What's the price, and that's overall. I always say, give me the out the door price, and I think that's what people want to think on that side.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that example. I was just on a, I work with a lot of one-on-one people, but I also do group coaching and keynotes and workshops and this. But this week I was doing one of my a group coaching, and one of the people was talking, or that was on the call, where they were talking about they needed to buy a new car, and they put something on the website, and they got like 50 responses, and people were calling them like crazy. But the person that they ended up buying the car from was the person that called and just kept on asking them simple questions.
Right.
Hi, my name is John. What are you looking for?
Yeah.
What are your interests? What color do you like? And not pushy, because the questions were so simple, and then brought them in, and that's who got the deal. So
agreed.
Yeah. I
But
love
I
what we're
think
talking
that I think people's insecurities in this day and age, as you just said right there, it's so competitive out there that
about.
once they have somebody on the hook or on the line to just talk to,
Yeah,
it's
right,
kind of like they feel they have to almost like vomit out everything, and they don't want to leave anything on the table, John, right? They're just so
correct.
afraid, like I have to give you I have to give you everything. And I kind of equate it to, and I don't want to sound like, I equate it to like dating, right? Would you sit
Yeah,
down with somebody on a first coffee date and just be like,
right,
here's my entire life goal, and here's my
right,
FICO score, and here's
right,
everything, and here's this, and my mom gave me a letter of recommendation, and by
right,
the way,
right,
it's
right,
like, whoa, 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 whoa,
right,
we're just
right,
right, right,
right.
just
You
keep
start
it
off, hey,
simple.
tell me about yourself. Right. Yeah.
Yes, right,
Keep it simple.
yes,
Um, all right. So let's do a quick speed round. You have some
yeah.
books behind you. What's a book that's had a big impact on you?
Okay, so a big impact on me, and it's completely off kilter here, is my favorite book of all time is the 1,000 Most Influential People in History. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's an older book. I read it once a year. It's not really about business. What it does is, this historian came out with this book. It's very interesting. It was on my parent. My parents are both historians, right? So the issue is, this book was on their shelf when I was like 7 years old, and it just fascinates. It's a big book, and what it does is it gives you these mini chopped up bites of the top 100. If I said 1,000, I apologize. 100 people that this historian said were the most influential people. What's interesting, John, is he then rewrote it like in 2000 after the collapse
Yeah.
of the Soviet Union. The reason I love that book is because if you read these biographies and why he says these people are so important in the history of the world.
By Michael Hart.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Is that I tell people that here's why I love that book, is you're going to get a mini education on the people who shaped the history of this world. And
Yeah.
that, as far as conversations, which is really about making connection with people,
Yeah.
will make you a person that is interesting to anyone of any flavor, be it
Yeah.
politics, history, religion, science, because you never know when you're going to sit down with somebody what
Yeah.
they're into. And if you can make a connection, I do this all the time. Somebody goes, hey, yeah, where'd you grow up? Oh, I grew up here. Hopefully I have some connection of like, oh, I've been there, and mention some place that I've been. I love, I'll give you an example. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My mom got her PhD there. Anytime I meet anyone from Pittsburgh, the usual thing is like, oh, Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, everybody knows them. But I'm like, yeah, I've been to Kennywood Park. It's one of the most famous old amusement parks. And you can see these people's eyes light up. Like, you've
Uh-huh.
been to Kennywood Park? That is more important to me than any sales process,
Yeah.
is being in a room with somebody who's got their guard up about, what are you trying to do here? If I can, in a very organic way, not phony, but just like, oh, yeah, cool. Well, if you can sit with somebody who's got a science background and they start talking about blah, 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 and you're like, oh, yeah, I read a little bit about this guy, which is something to them basic, but most people don't. They're just
Yeah.
going to look at you and go, this guy's pretty smart. I mean, he's well read. And you can get that education in a month by reading that book. I can't tell you how many times I've been able to have conversations just on a nice surface level of what their interest is by reading that book.
It's amazing. Have you are you familiar with Founders Podcast, David?
No.
So this will be your new favorite podcast. He reads not every, but he's on like 399 episodes. His goal is to get to 1,000. And he reads all the autobiographies and then does a review of the book. You'll love it. Founders Podcast.
Yeah.
It is hands down my favorite podcast.
Right. I mean, that's the thing I do all the time, is I kind of do the hack on that on Wikipedia, where, I mean, even if I'm watching a movie, I did it last night. I had a movie on last night, just kind of watching. And it's like, while I'm watching it, I'm always on there because it interests me how people got where they are today, whether you like them or not. Is how did Trump really get here today? Or how did Elon Musk, or how did Jeff Bezos, the names we keep hearing, not just the sugar-coated stuff we hear, but the actual intricate, like, where did they grow up? Who were their parents? Like, did they come from silver spoon and got the lift, or were they somebody who absolutely came from nowhere? And how did they do it? Because those are the interesting stories that I think teach us a lot about things.
Yeah, good. I think I got the last copy. I just ordered one while I'm talking to you. And then I went to order another one for one of my kids, and they're not available.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I'm not a huge reader, and so I mean I'll read. I'm more of like articles, things like that, but I'm not
Yeah.
usually sit down with a book. This was the only book that I made both my daughters read when they grew up
Yeah.
because, and it's great. Like when we went and traveled Europe, they
Yeah.
knew they could put the pieces of the puzzle
Good.
together. They already knew,
Good.
right?
Awesome. All right. Good. Thank you so much for that.
Of course.
Best piece of wisdom you've ever shared. I mean, you've ever received.
Best piece of wisdom I've ever received is that um, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And it means both
Yeah.
sides,
Yeah.
right? If
Yeah.
you're having the greatest day, greatest week, greatest month of your life in sales,
Yeah.
you're at the top of the roller coaster, baby. Get ready because it ain't going to last. And that same thing is when you are being audited by the IRS and the wife isn't happy and da 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 da
Yeah.
da 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 da, and the dog is sick and your kid needs
Yeah.
braces. This too shall pass. And from that,
Yeah.
what I've really learned really quickly is I tell the younger people is that when you're going through it, even the worst times of your life,
Yeah.
there's a reason, and it may not be today, it might be 5 years or 10 years from now, you'll be in that same kind of predicament, but through
Yeah.
your experience, you'll go, now I know why I had to go through that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Finish this sentence. One thing everybody needs to do to, no, different question.
Okay.
One thing everybody needs to know about history that they don't is
that. I mean, I love the old quote, is those who don't know history are condemned to repeat it. I mean, and we're I'm not political now, but I mean, after what's happened recently in this world in the last 6 months, right? I kind of start going, didn't we see a lot of this stuff in the late 60s on its own different merit, of course, but it's just crazy that our country goes through these cycles, and that's what it is. And that works in finance too. It's like people are, we had the big drop in 2008 and people like want to so easily that we forget. I mean, we are 5 years away from COVID and it seems like this massive distant memory, or the last time the market tanked and all these things. And it's like, do you not think that that's not possible again? It's going to happen again at some point. It's just inevitable, but it's not that that's going to be the problem. It's how did you prepare? Because we had a storm before and you didn't protect your house after that storm and just thought that was it. So I absolutely adhere to that.
All right. Tell people who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you, Ben.
My ideal clients are people who are usually accredited investors, meaning people who have $1 million, and in today's era, that's not like ridiculous to say. Probably 50 years old plus, 50 to 75, who have a decent amount of money in the market, have retirement plans, and just realize that the market is an end all be all to everything and is looking for a different way to make decent returns with no stock market risk and no correlation to outside things like the economy or anything like COVID or political stuff. And that's what we're looking for.
Good. And they can get a hold of you at your website, lifeadvisorsolution.com. Ben, this was great. I appreciated your insight. I appreciate the conversation. Think community, Ben shared a lot of stuff. I'm a business coach. I work with successful people who are stuck, get them unstuck. One of the things that you talked about today, Ben, that I think gets people unstuck is the power of asking a really good question, a simple question, educating people, investing the time to make people smarter so they can get to their own conclusion, they can raise their level of awareness, and they can determine if you are the right fit for them. So the sale isn't really much of a sale. And so thank you so much for shedding some light on that. Think community, you can reach Ben if you want to learn more about what he does and if it's appealing to you at lifeadvisorsolution.com. And you can reach me if you want to talk about any business coaching at johndwoskin.com. Ben, this was great. I'm glad we did this. Thanks for taking time to share your thoughts.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it so much.
Thanks.